Hey everyone, Rocker here. So our Prime Minister of Canada ended up doing a tweet yesterday after the marches were all over with, and I'd like to be able to share the tweet and be able to talk about it afterwards. Have a look. So that's the tweet from the Canadian Prime Minister yesterday after most of the marches had already taken place. Let's break this down, shall we? Because it's quite interesting what he's actually saying here. First of all, he says right off the hop, let me make one thing very clear. Trudeau's been doing that a lot lately. When he starts a speech or whatever, is that he says that, let me make this perfectly clear. Let me make one thing very clear, whatever. And usually what he ends up talking about immediately after that is just pure bullshit. It's pure wedge politics as far as identity politics, or basically pushing a liberal ideology on everybody else and trying to gaslight people. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so let me make one thing very clear. Transphobia, homophobia, and biphobia have no place in this country. He's absolutely right. Everybody agrees with that. I'm not even sure why he's saying that, outside of the fact that he's trying to do wedge politics. Is that any kind of phobia? Whether it be gender, sexual orientation phobia, whether it be as far as gender identity, whether it be as far as your religious, background, whether it be as far as your ethnic background, any kind of phobia anywhere is wrong. Okay, everyone agrees with that. I don't know why he said this, but he's basically trying to stoke fear. Then he goes on. After that is that we strongly condemn the hate and the manifestations, and we're going to stop right there. Okay, what hate was going on yesterday? The only hate that I saw is the fact that you saw signs of people basically condemning Muslim populations and ethnic minority populations, telling them to go back to their own country. That in fact that you had groups that were basically yelling out, if you don't like it here, go back to your own country. That's hate, straight out hate. Islamophobia is against the Hindus, against the Jews. That was straight out hate speech. But it was happening yesterday with the counter protesters. Okay, the other thing he says, we strongly condemn the hate and its manifestations. What are the manifestations? Okay, he's talking about basically as far as if you are against the government narratives, again, whether it be religious, against whether it be cultural, whether it be heritage, whether it be as far as traditions, whether it be your customs, whether it be your upbringing or whatever, if it goes against the government narrative and their ideology, is that what the manifestations are. So you being a Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Jewish, Buddha, Christian, Mennonite, Amish, Hutterite, the list goes on and on. If you belong to any of these groups of faith of people, or as far as cultural and traditional heritage, ethnic groups, is that he's basically condemning them, is that, hey, if you have things within that go against what we are trying to push, is that's what the manifestations are. Which is, again, is a form of hate. That's discrimination. Just pure up discrimination. So, we strongly condemn the hate and its manifestations, and we stand united in support of the LGBTQ Canadians across this country. You are valid and you are valued. Of course they are. And the reason why? It's not because of their gender orientation. It's not because they're gay, lesbian, transgendered, bisexual, non binary, whatever. It's because they're Canadians. They are valid and they are valued because they are Canadians. Full stop. That's basically it. To be able to try to say that you are valued because of your sexual orientation is wrong. To say that you are valued because of your gender identity is wrong. No, you are valued because you're Canadian. You are equal, the same as every other Canadian is in this great land of ours. You are no less, you are not less valued, and you're no less valid. Trudeau's basically saying is that you are less. Okay? Which is complete bullshit. You are a Canadian. You have the right to freedom of speech. You have the right to freedom of expression. You have the right to freedom of religion. You have the right to be able to choose who you want as far as what you want to be, who you want to sleep with, how you want to be able to interact with people. That's entirely up to you. That's what a free and democratic country is all about. So by using wed politics and identity politics in order to try to divide and stoke hate, that's the government that's doing it, folks. That's the government that's trying to push that agenda. It needs to stop. Now, concerning the march yesterday, what was the title of the march? 1 million people for children. Okay, not 1 million people for the LGBTQ community, because the majority of the LGBTQ community are adults. Okay, there was no issues about whether you were gay, whether you were lesbian, or whether you're bisexual. Nobody cared about those things. Those things were settled years ago, decades ago. Okay, nobody cares about any of those things. What people did care is about as far as the indoctrination and what is happening with the children right now in this country. This woke ideology and methodology and narrative that's being pushed by a very few extreme elements is that they have more of a voice than what they should. Okay? If you're a gay person, you don't need puberty blockers. You don't need hormones. You don't need any kind of surgery done. You just come out as a gay person, end of subject. Boom, you move on. If you are a lesbian, you don't need puberty blockers. You don't need hormonal treatment. You don't need surgery done. You just come out as a lesbian. Boom, done. Everyone accepts that, you move on. If you come out as a bisexual person, you do not need puberty blockers. You do not need hormonal treatment. You don't need surgeries. You just come out as bisexual. I like boys and girls. There's only two, folks. There's only two. I like boys and girls, men or women, whatever. Done. Okay? So we need to keep that in perspective. Now, when we're talking about children, this is where the issue is coming up. Is that it's a struggle between the parents and the government. Is that the parents are saying, we will raise the children up the way that we see fit, whether it be as far as through our faith teachings, our religion, whether it be through our ethnic values, whether it be through our cultural values, traditions, all those things. The parents are saying, these are our children, these are my children, I will decide what is best for them in our family. Once they are of age and mature enough, they can make their own decisions however they choose to be able to go. But until they are old enough, I am responsible for them. The government and the school boards and these radicals within the school boards and on the board of trustees or whatever, they're saying that like, no, we are the teachers, we are the educators, we will decide what is best for your child. We will keep information away from you if we choose to, because that is our decision to be able to do. Whether it be as far as, a child, being manipulated, or they choose to change their gender identity or whatever kind of things, is that the school boards are now pushing that narrative is that they don't need to tell the parents. In fact, they're telling the children not to tell the parents, which is completely wrong. That is not the school's decision. That is not the teacher's decision to be able to make. That is up to the parents and the child to be able to make that amongst themselves. Secondly, as far as the gender affirming care, again, if I had a 12-year-old daughter and she decided that she wanted to be able to get a boob job done or whatever, we have laws against that. Everyone thinks that's completely perverted and it's wrong. The doctor that ended up doing that would go to jail. But for somehow in this narrative is that that's wrong, but for the ideology, it's acceptable and it's actually pushed. So that's completely wrong as well. No child should be on hormones at a young age. They're not mature enough to be able to vote, drink, smoke, drive a car, own a weapon, go to a mature movie, attend a lot of different events or whatever. They're definitely not mature enough to decide for themselves to be able to have surgery done or to be able to be on hormonal treatments for the rest of their life. They need to wait until they're mature enough to be able to do that. Okay? This is a long rant, but you people need to know. Read this tweet one more time, and you'll get a better perspective of what's happening here. Is that the government's trying to use wedge politics and identity politics in order to divide the country. The LGBT, the gays, lesbians, and the bisexuals, for the most part, they are totally against what's happening in schools right now. And they definitely do not like the extra attention that's being brought on the overall community. Because it's drama, it's unnecessary, and it's unwanted. Take care, guys.